On this episode of Locked On Angels, we have a trade. The Halos get two relievers and trade away two guys that aren't really that big of a deal. We're going to share the details and how this really helps the team. I'm Mike. That's John. We're the Super Halo Bros, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is, and yes, we are. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. One of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angel is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use our promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion flavor 5 Hour Energy shots today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball with you every single Monday through Friday. On today's show, we're going to give you the takeaways from the final game against the Rangers that the Angels played last night. We'll talk about the reality that the Halos are going to have to play some meaningful games. But first, Mike, the Angels made a trade yesterday. They actually traded for two players. We'll get into that in just a second. But speaking of trades, the trade deadline, 3 p.m. Pacific time. And right before that, 2:45 Pacific time, myself and the busiest man in podcasting, Gavin Carlson, we're going to be on live on the YouTube channel. So come on over and hang out with us, 2:45, 15 minutes before the deadline. And then we'll stick around after the deadline. So you got today's regular show, and then we'll have Thursday afternoon trade deadline talk with Gavin Carlson and myself. So let's get into the details from that trade yesterday. The Angels acquired veteran relievers Luis García. Hey, we know him. And Andrew Chafin, about 3 years too late. We wanted him like 3 years ago, Mike. They came from the Washington Nationals in exchange for Jake Eder, who we've seen in the majors eat some innings for us. Jake Eder eating some innings there. There you go. And Sam Brown, who we got a nice little look at in spring training, but he's been in Double-A the last 2 years. First baseman, play the outfield sometimes, but first baseman. But let's start the talking points about who they got, Mike. Who did we get in Garcia and Chafin?
Yeah, they provide some depth and experience to the bullpen. It's something that you and I have been talking about all season long, and we're going to reference again in the next segment when we give our takeaways from last night's game, because the blowpen did their blowpen job last night.
Their blowpenniest job.
Weren't able to lock it down, and that's why they need some pieces in the bullpen. In fact, this really makes the bullpen a veteran-heavy bullpen with a lot of experience. Kenley Jansen is 37, Garcia is 38, Chafin's 35, and if Stevenson returns, and he did pitch yesterday through about 20 pitches in the bullpen, hit 90 to 92, and said he felt good. He's 32 years old, and so if he can come back, it could really benefit this bullpen. Now remember, Garcia got us a haul last year, was traded to the Red Sox. We got Zephyr John, Lugo, Cavadas, and Jefferson Vargas. He began this season with the Dodgers. They DFA'd him. Then he went to the Nationals. His overall numbers, John, 36 games, 37 1/3 innings pitched, 39 hits, 17 earns, and 18 walks, 31 strikeouts, a 4.10 ERA with a 1.5 whip. But with the Nationals, he's only allowed one run in 10 innings. Ray Montgomery said, hey, since he's been with Washington, his stuff has ticked back up to what we saw. We know he had some injuries later in the year last year that might have affected how he was throwing. It maybe affected this year, but he's a pro. He's a vet. He's been down there. He's pitched in every role from the 5th inning to the 9th inning. He's closed games, everything. So it's really nice to have him.
Yeah, it's good to have him back because, you know, his best stretch last year, obviously, was with the Angels, but yeah, 0.90 ERA over 10 innings pitched with the Nationals. And as we know, relievers, I said this on our announcement, breaking news video, relievers are, what have you done for me lately? Because they're volatile, Mike. And so the most up and down players in baseball are relief pitchers, as we saw in last night's game. And as you said, we will get to that. But let's talk about Andrew Chafin. He had a 2.7 ERA with the Nationals. Now, he was in spring training with the Tigers, who released him, and then the Nationals picked him up in May. He's had 2 stints on the IL this season with Washington. So he's been in just 26 games, 20 innings, 20 hits surrendered, 6 earned runs, 12 walks, 18 strikeouts, a 2.70 ERA with a 1.60 whip. His splits, however, are vastly different because he is a lefty and he's allowed lefties to hit just 147 off of him compared to 366 by righty. So seems like he will be used in that more traditional lefty situation and then coming in to get left-handed hitters out because the numbers really say that him lefty on lefty is the way to go for Andrew Chafin.
Now, Jake Eder is somebody that you mentioned we saw in the majors this year. He formerly was a top 100 prospect. The Sox designated him for assignment earlier this year. Angels picked him up. He had a 6.11 ERA in AAA, and then he obviously pitched for the Angels 8 big league games, had a 4.91 ERA. Baseball America still ranks him as the 24th best prospect in the Angels organization. And so getting rid of him, I think, was an interesting move. I don't think it was a bad move. It wasn't somebody that we were counting on for the future. Sam Brown, John, 23 years old, was the Angels' 12th round draft pick in 2023. He was hitting .244 and had a 7.04 OPS in his second season in AA. He's not amongst the Angels' top 30 prospects, according to Baseball America. And he's blocked at the major league level by Nolan Shawnuel at first base. And Shawnuel is actually younger than Sam Brown. So getting rid of those guys for some bullpen help, John, it seemed like a good move, and we didn't have to trade too much. So what do you make of this trade?
Well, I think most of everyone out there agreed that this was a win for the Halos, but not really sure what they're going to do next. In fact, Alden Gonzalez, former beat writer for the Angels, by the way, said I wouldn't be so quick to label the Angels as going for it just by getting Luis García and Andrew Chafin, with the caveat that they might be the most difficult team to predict this time of year. Getting Garcia and Chafin could free up moves like Kenley Jansen and Reed Detmer. So initially it's like, well, they need the veteran presences in the bullpen, so why not add those two? That's a great move, and it didn't cost you very much. Not two prospects that were not, really highly regarded. And then at the same time, you could consider the fact that maybe they need these bodies in the bullpen so that they can get rid of some bodies in the bullpen, including somebody like Kenley Jansen. Yeah. And, what's interesting, Mike, is yesterday the Giants moved Tyler Rogers to the Mets. I want to make sure I got that right. Tyler. I'm pretty sure it's Tyler, not Taylor. Pretty sure it's Tyler. The twin brothers, by the way. They traded him to the Mets, and they got the number 10 and number 12 prospect back for Rogers. And then the twins received the Phillies number 4 and number 6 prospect for Johan Duran. And so if that's what they got for their closers, what could the Halos get for Kenley Jansen? I would say it's somewhere in between Tyler Rogers and Johan Duran. So what should they do here, Mike? Should they let this be, the reinforcements they need in the bullpen? Or should they just make them the bodies while they trade away somebody like Kenley Jansen? What do you say?
I think that the smart move for the future would be to trade Kenley Jansen and let these guys fill in those spots, because they're going to need people to handle those spots. And right now they don't have that in the minor leagues. Kenley Jansen's going to get you a couple of guys that are pretty good in the minor leagues, just like Carlos Estevez did. Yeah. And so he's gonna get you a few guys, I think. Now, are they going to do that? It doesn't seem like they are.
No.
It seems like they're going to kind of stand pat and pad this team. But it's something we've talked about on this show leading up to the trade deadline. If they make any moves, it's the bullpen moves that are desperately needed for this team. Right. Because having the young guys out there on a regular basis has proven that they're going to have moments where they show great potential and have some great performances, but then they're going to do what they did last night, the young guys specifically, Sam Bachman specifically. And so they need some veteran guys. It doesn't mean that the veteran guys won't have moments where they implode, but they need some guys that can handle those late inning situations and get the ball to Kenley Jansen if they stand pat. All indications are, as of this recording, that the Angels are going to stand pat, that they're not going to make the huge, big move to trade for somebody, get a bat, get an ace, but it also looks like they're not going to make the huge, big move to trade some of their pieces to get pieces for the future. It looks like they're going to kind of stand pat. They believe in this team, and that's the thing that is interesting to me. When they talk to all the players, Mike Trout, more recent, yesterday, Jeff Fletcher talked to him. Trout's like, I like this team, and we're tight, and we're good. And if the front office adds to this team, we believe that we can do some things. That's the narrative that's coming out of the locker room. I appreciate that everybody's on the same page. The problem I have, though, is that you did what you did last night, right? You had a chance to sweep the Rangers, and I get it. Winning series, not winning streaks. That's my words. I'm gonna announce that. I believe in that. However, you have to win. You have to win those games, especially with that environment last night. So this will be an interesting trade deadline today. I think the Angels stand pat. I don't think that they make the big moves, and I don't think that they're thinking about next year. I think they're thinking about, let's see what we can do with this team and these players right now.
Yeah, it's everything that has come out of that locker room. It's everything that they've said from the beginning of the season. And that's not to say, look, I know there's a lot of Angel fans and even everydayers who know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
Which would be to sell what you have and get what you can get back. But that's wishful thinking at this point.
Yeah.
And I think it's been wishful thinking. Now, it's important that we have those discussions and say, it would be really wise of the Angels to move all of the sellable pieces that they have and get a bunch of stuff back and even trade all those expiring deals, even though they might not yield you anything significant. And that's all well and good. The problem is, Mike, I think that we're I don't know how to say it. We're blinded by the right thing to do when all along the Angels have been telling us this is what we're going to do, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it feels like? And it feels like, that's the narrative coming out of the locker room as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we should be surprised is what you're saying.
I guess so.
This is who the team said that they were going to be. We're going to try to get to the playoffs. That's what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And we can disagree with that.
Right.
I think that it's okay to disagree with that. In fact, I think it's reasonable to go, come on, guys. Like, we could really build around this team because of the trades that we've already seen. We saw Mick Abel get traded yesterday. Like, we saw these big name guys move. And we could really capture some of those guys. I get that there's not a guarantee that these guys are going to turn out. Remember, Diego Cartaya from the Dodgers, he was going to be the next great, Mike Piazza, and then he gets DFA'd this season by the Dodgers. And so I know that these guys don't always turn out, but there's a lot of potential in the Angels grabbing a bunch of these guys to see what they can do to fill this roster for next year. But they are doing what they said they're going to do. And so if we're going to give them any credit, let's give them credit that they said, we're going to try to get to the playoffs. And that's what they're trying to do. I think all the fans are like, I just don't think you should, even though it'd be fun to get to the playoffs. And we'll talk about that in the third segment. But I just don't think you should, because there's a lot of opportunity to sell off some of the pieces that you didn't sell off before and you regretted it. 2023 is an example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, what's funny is this is not a 2023 level of quote unquote buying either, because the pieces they gave up were not that significant, but even the return isn't that significant. No. It's not going after that starting pitcher. And so the thing is that certainly Luis García and Andrew Chafin are going to help this bullpen. Yeah. But it's not exactly the world-beating move when you just watched the Mariners acquire Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor in less than a week. So they're we know what their designs are. Their designs are get to the World Series for the first time in franchise history and, not just make the playoffs like the Angels are hoping for. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, we'll give you the takeaways from last night's game against the Rangers, and we'll have a conversation about you wanted meaningful games in August, you wanted meaningful games in September, and now they're here. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Trade deadline day, it's time to fill up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors to your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or you're just making memories with friends, this is a hole-in-one for your energy game. And honestly, some days you just need a little extra boost to stay energized, whether you're on the golf course or whether you're John Frisch trying to raise a child. Like it can be difficult, right? And the grape, ginger, lime flavor for 5-Hour Energy Transfusion is really good. It's one of the best parts of your clubhouse. Don't have to go chase the bev cart. And you can get all of this at 5hourenergy.com and use our promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order, all one word. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions, and the code's not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or you're trying to turn 18 holes into 36 holes, get the energy boost that you need and power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today at the5energy.com today.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. All right, we had the breaking news out of the way. Now we're talking about last night's game. Disappointment, Mike, because the vibes and the energy were so high to start that game. Shout out to everybody who was an Angel in the outfield. That was fantastic. That guy, John, in the interviews they've done with him on the broadcast, seems like a really good dude. So shout out to them, because that was a lot of fun. Now they can't ever do it again because the Angels lost. So the tradition's over. I'm sorry, guys. But it was really awesome to see that turnout. And how did it take this long for that to happen, in the stands like that?
We just needed another John to get it together, right?
That's right. But let's talk about some of our takeaways in this one. Soriano did exactly what the Angels needed him to do, Mike. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Good mix of sinkers, the knuckle curve. 2 big moments in this game for Soriano. It was the top of the 5th. Started it with a leadoff walk for Soriano. He got Josh Young to line out, Jonah Heim to strike out, and Josh Smith to ground out to end the inning. And then in the top of the 6th, he allowed a go-ahead run to the Rangers, but the run was unearned because Adele made an error in center field trying to catch the ball on his shoe tops. He was doing it backhand. That ball that went past Logan O'Hoppe, he was trying to pick it backhand. Guys, just the glove is not meant to go that way. Put it.
You're not Derek Jeter. You're Joe Adele,
right? Corey Seager hit that ball, and that Adele dropped that. Then a wild pitch moved Seager to second. Marcus Semien hit an RBI single that scored Seager. This was the 12th quality start for Soriano this season. The 8th start where he's gone 7 innings this season, and the 3rd time he's gone into the 7th inning, or he's gone 7 innings this month. So he pitched like a true ace last night, going pitch for pitch with Nathan Eovaldi, who, just the fact that they got an earned run off of Nathan Eovaldi was pretty significant, right, Mike?
Yeah, very significant. Now, what was significant about late in this game, and it's our second takeaway, is the bullpen lived up to the blowpen name. They allow 4 late runs in the 8th inning, 7 consecutive batters, John, after they got 2 outs.
What?
7 consecutive batters after they got 2 outs. That was so frustrating. Sam Bachman could not get anybody out last night. And again, this is why Perry traded for some veterans. And this is why we've been clamoring. If they're going to try to make a run, they need some vets in that bullpen. And they need them to not just be present. They need them to lead the way like Kenley Jansen is, because this young bullpen has a lot of potential, but they do find ways to implode when it counts. And last night, they really imploded.
Yeah, unfortunately, our next takeaway is Joe Adele really was the rally killer last night. He grounded into 2 double plays at short, had that error in center that cost the Angels a run. And we know he's been good, and he had a bad game last night, and that hurt the team. And then the offense altogether really didn't do much of anything last night either. In the bottom of the 3rd, the Angels loaded the bases. Trout struck out. And so it's frustrating to hear him say, I like this team. I like what we got going on. Well, then come through.
Yeah.
and I'm sorry. I have no room to talk about Mike Trout from, behind the stupid microphone, but just like, where are you, dude? Where you been? Like, what? Come on.
I think there's two layers. There was an everydayer that tweeted, we have to say it out loud. Like, part of the reason why the Angels haven't made it to the playoffs is because Trout, like, he has had moments where he has just not come through like this, right? And I know he's been great. He's my favorite. He's the GOAT. But Trout just seems a bit behind. He's a tick slow. And maybe it's because he just hasn't been on the field in 5 years, right? Like, he just hasn't been around. And so he's having to learn, having to grow, having to get things back. Maybe August becomes the month where he turns it on and becomes Trout-like. But
I better hope.
I hope so. The Angels need to hope so. But last night was just frustrating watching him strike out. And then Nolan Shonowell followed with a fly out to right. It was the first run of the game for the Angels. And it came in that bottom of the fourth with an RBI single to Rengifo. And then, of course, Shonowell added 2 more in the bottom of the 8th with his home run. 6-3 was that final score.
Yeah, it could have been a much different game had they done something with those loaded bases, but 2 outs in a row and not even bringing anybody home on that. That's just really, really frustrating. But finally, let's talk about the fact that the Angels in the outfield changed the vibe.
They did.
Of this game. Hundreds and hundreds of people dressed up as Angels in right field. They were chanting, they were cheering. They even did a roll call for the players in the first inning. And Mike, I have to say, it reminded me of when the Halos were good.
Yeah.
And the fans were loud, because everything they were cheering was coming through on the broadcast, including sell the team, which I thought was pretty great.
Yeah.
So,
and some interesting comments about Artie came through the broadcast as well. Yeah.
But I mean, look, you don't just put something like that together because you're ho-hum on this team.
Yeah.
That is like the Angel fans and long-suffering Angel fans. We are desperate for a winner in Anaheim. And what that showed was passion. What that showed was the fact that, hey, there's a fan base here, and we want to get behind our guys. We want to get behind this team. And it really sucks that we have an owner who doesn't see that and doesn't believe in that and doesn't want to do what needs to be done. I was chatting with JD Hafferin, who does Locked On Cardinals. We host MLB Game Night together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we were joking back and forth about trades. And I said, well, it looks like, the Kenley trade isn't happening because that's when the Phillies got Duran. And he said, that's all right. The Angels are buyers anyway. And he said something like along the lines of, do you want Arenado? I said, at this point, I'd take Arenado. And he goes, can you imagine the Angels paying for Rendon and Arenado? And I said, here's the thing, dude. They can.
Yeah.
They absolutely can.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt or harm them either way. Like, yeah, it sucks to have sunk money in Anthony Rendon that isn't going anywhere. But the fact is, they can most certainly pay for both of those players. Artie Moreno just doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go over the luxury tax. He doesn't want to do what needs to be done to make this team a winner. And so you have this huge turnout of the Angels in the outfield, rocking the stands, cheering on the players. I think that was awesome because it was a direct message from the fans to the players.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that the, sell the team chants got in there eventually. I just really hope that the players know like where us fans stand versus where we stand against ownership. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're playing hard. They're hustling really well. Like, I love this team. I love the young players we have on this team. And I love that they are scrappy and they're battling for 500, which is where we thought that they would probably be this season, right? And because the narrative has been, we're going to go for it, then there's been this expectation of, all right, then show us you're going to go for it, right? And if they do nothing today and all they did was just add to the bullpen, then my expectations won't change. It will be a 500 team, right? And it will be, this is who we are. I'll be a bit bothered by the fact that they didn't utilize the players on expiring contracts to get players to build for the future. That just is very short-sighted and it's just flat out dumb. You just can't do that. And if they do that, that's how they're going to run this team. I get it. It's just frustrating because what last night proved, especially with the Halo boys organizing all of those people, and good on them, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what a great way to lead the way. It was 3 of them, and there was now 300, 400 people. Like, it was so rad to see. And that just proved that we want to invest in the players and we want to invest in this team and we want to cheer this team. We don't want to go another season, let alone another 10 years without some playoffs. And I get that you're trying to get there, Perry. I get that you're trying to get there, Artie, but you're not all in. You're like teetering and tottering. You need to choose a side, bro. Like you need to go up or you need to go down. And just go all the way in if you're going to do that. And not talking about the trade deadline today. It's talking about what you do in the offseason. It's talking about what you do with the bullpen and the starting rotation. And that's what we're talking about. And it just seems like they're just not ready to dive into the pool. Full bore, cannonball, let's go, right?
So, Mike, with the fact that the Angels, as of now, seem to be trying to make it happen this season, trying to, get into the playoffs. They think that they're going to be better the rest of the way. Here's where things stand right now. The reaction to this trade from yesterday has been varied. Some were saying we didn't give up anything significant to improve the pen. That's where I stand. I think that's where you stand as well.
Mm-hmm.
Others are saying, incompetent, unserious organization, right?
Yeah.
And in between those two reactions are the comments about wanting competitive, meaningful games in August and September. Well, guess what? That's where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
The Halos are playing meaningful games, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And they're games that if they win, they have the potential to get them to the playoffs, games that we haven't experienced in a while. So if we want meaningful games and we want to be competitive in those games, trades like this will help. So my question to you is, do you think that the narrative will change for the better, the seller crowds, if this team is close all the way to the end, or do they need to make the playoffs in order to satisfy the seller crowd? And do they need to go deep into the playoffs to satisfy that seller crowd? What do you say?
I think they first have to get over 500 or at least get to 500, right?
Yeah.
Like they've been teasing that all year long. And then I think that we have to run hard towards the finish line. And for the crowd that's like, they should sell. I'd be curious. Everydayer Nathan, Everydayer Matt, they're on here pretty often, and they are letting everyone know every day that this team should sell, and that's fine. And I don't think that they're wrong in that. I would just be curious, and they can comment below. I would love to read their comments. What would convince them like that it was a good move to not sell? Like, do they have to get to the playoffs? Do they have to get deep in the playoffs? Honestly, for me, John, I would love competitive games all through August and September. And I would love to get to the playoffs. Now, when we get to the playoffs, I would love to win, right? Yeah. Like I'm going to be excited about that. But if they get to the playoffs, that achieves something that you and I talked about in the offseason, a narrative shifting season. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening this year. The narrative is shifting. Last night with the Halo boys in right field, that's a narrative shifting moment, right?
That's huge.
Because this team is fun to watch and the young players are fun to root for. And so if they push to the playoffs and get in, I think that changes the game for them completely. And I think that it could be enough momentum with some of the young guys that are in the minor leagues that could potentially be on this roster next year, a full season of Christian Moore, right? This team could be potentially the Detroit Tigers next year if they can put it all together. Now, a lot of people said, hey, the Tigers sold last year and then still made the playoffs. I just want to remind those people that the Tigers played above the metrics, above the expected numbers to get there. And everybody did, right? Even the ball boy was playing above, right?
He's catching line drives in the corner. Yeah.
Right. And so bottom line is that if we want meaningful games in August and September, we're there. And the team is making decisions to make these games meaningful. And so if we're asking for it, the team is doing that, right? Yeah. I think that's where the seller crowd has to go, well, hey, at least we're in some meaningful games. Now it's just a matter of we just got to win. Like put together some wins, guys.
That's the thing about this right now, Mike, is in August and September, they're playing meaningful games. And as I said, whether we like it or not, whether that's the smart move or not, because at the end of the day, you just put this team in a position where you better freaking win.
Yeah.
You better win series after series after series. And look, they won the series against Texas. No complaints there. Would have been nice with the energy and the vibes and the outing from Soriano if they had picked up that win and swept Texas last night. They didn't do that. But from here on out, if they think they are who they think they are, they're going to have to win 3 series in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to win 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 each time. And whether they can do that or not, I'm not so certain. You're not so certain.
No.
Everydayers aren't so certain. But the fact is, like I said, whether they can do that or not, they've put themselves in this position, whether they can do that or not. These games are now meaningful. These games are now serious. These games have to be competitive. And so with every win and every loss from here on out until the end of the season, it's going to be a roller coaster. This is the time of year where you can live and die by every win and every loss. And I think that's why last night's loss hurts so bad, because that was a meaningful game and they lost it. And I think starting tomorrow, when they face the White Sox at home, who've been pretty good, by the way, oddly enough, they just took 2 out of 3 from the Phillies.
Yeah.
I think that they are going to have to pick it up starting Friday. We're going to have to win series. All these games are meaningful now. Again, whether you meant to do that or not, you got to show your fan base that you can do this. And this actually does extend to the players, Mike. They have to show up. They have to show out. They have to win these games. And I believe they want to, and I believe they're putting in the effort to. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the win and loss record. And from here on out until the end of the season, every game matters. Every game is meaningful. And these games, by virtue of that, are now competitive games in August and September.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Angels on YouTube so you don't miss all of this great Halo content, including the best postcast in the business with Gavin Carlson. He's live after every game right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, find today's show on YouTube. Get in the comments section because we'd love to hear from you. It's the best place to get in touch with us. Don't forget, this afternoon, 2:45, Gavin Carlson and I are going live here on the YouTube channel, Locked On Angels. So if you're listening, come join us live. There will be a chat where you can interact with us. We're going on at 2:45, right before the deadline is over. And then, of course, we'll stick around till after because there are some moves that get made. We're going to recap everything from what the Angels do to what our rivals do, what it means now that Eugenio Suarez is in the AL West once again and is like 10 times better than he was the last time he was a Seattle Mariner. Maybe he'll have the curse of the Mariners jersey, kind of like Naylor has had. I know Naylor hit a home run the other day, but it just seems like everybody's power gets zapped once they put on that teal uniform, Mike. But on Friday, we're going to have a edited version of that live stream. So if you missed the live stream, you can catch it on the audio side and catch it on the video side. We'll shorten that down, have all the important talking points in a 30-minute version of the show for you. So until Friday's show, until this afternoon, actually, 2:45 Pacific, meet us here on YouTube, on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you at 2:45, and we'll see you on Friday.
Trade day.
Oh, boy.
Hang on. Hold on to your butts.
Refresh.